What is your anxiety holding you back from accomplishing? What is your anxiety keeping you from doing? People struggle with anxiety. We all struggle with anxiety. And what does the Bible say about our anxiety? We read in Philippians 4 that the Bible tells us to be careful for nothing or be anxious for nothing. What exactly does that mean? Because not all anxiety is bad. Anxiety is good. We have anxiety. All our emotions are God-given. God gives us these emotions for a reason, and he gives us anxiety for a reason as well. So we have to be real careful when we take verses in the Bible and then we try to just broadly apply them to everything. In Philippians, when God says be careful or be anxious for nothing, he's talking about things that we consistently or over worry about, that we allow us to affect us in a negative way. It drags us down, excessive worry. People have often said, worry is when we're carrying things that we need to just give to God. And we all worry. We worry about things, and that worry becomes unhealthy. But worry and anxiety also have a healthy component to them. Recently, I had to take a test, and I experienced some healthy anxiety to study for that test. That anxiety drove me, and it motivated me to prepare for something. We have a banquet coming up here very soon for Next Step. And that anxiety that I experience for that event coming up drives me to be better prepared. So anxiety is there to help us, to motivate us, to put a little bit of fear, healthy fear, into our life so that we can move forward and accomplish the things that we need to accomplish. But anxiety can cripple us too. Anxiety can cripple us and bring us to a point where we stop doing the things that we should be doing because of the fear that we have of failure. And usually the anxiety and the worry that we have, we're worrying about things that usually are not going to happen. We like to say that we experience something twice, the first time in our minds and the second time in reality. And it's often much worse in our minds than it is in reality. I'll tell you a story about a young lady named Jill. Jill was very anxious. She was a speaker. She was a public speaker. She had to speak for a living, yet she carried this tremendous amount of anxiety into her public speaking. And knowing that she had to speak before an event, she would get extremely nervous. She would almost get sick with anxiety. But as she got in her car and she drove to the event, and then as she got out and she walked in and she walked up on that stage, her anxiety slowly started to go away. That's because she pushed into her worry. She pushed into her anxiety. She did not allow her emotions to overrule the actions that she had to take. I often say to our guys at Next Step, do not let your emotions overrule your thinking. You must allow your thinking to overrule your emotions. And so many times emotions are so strong that we tend to allow our emotions to take the high road on top of our thinking. And what we need to do is to bring our thinking. And that takes effort. That takes practice. It's like anything else. You're probably going to fail at that a few times, but you have to keep doing it. You have to keep pushing. You have to say to yourself, okay, I'm not going to know the truth. I know in my mind, I'm anxious about this event. I'm anxious about something. I'm anxious about whatever you put the name on it. I'm anxious about this. And my emotions are taking me to a place of fear. And you have to decide that the fear is real, but your thinking and your actions must overcome them. You have to take control of the actions, of the thinking, and put fear and the emotions on underneath them. That takes practice. It does. It takes a lot of practice. So anxiety is not wrong. It's not sin. A lot of times we hear people say, oh, the Bible calls anxiety sin. It's not, because emotions are not sin. We can't help it when emotions come to us. Anger is not sin. The Bible tells us to be angry. In Ephesians 4, Paul tells us to be angry and sin not. So anger is not a sin. Anxiety is not a sin. Worry is not a sin. They happen naturally. It's what we then do with those. A lot of times we'll get wicked thoughts that come into our minds, and those wicked thoughts are not sin unless we decide to continue to entertain them. But that wicked thought that comes into my mind initially that I can't control that thought coming into my mind. Maybe something triggers it. I'm walking down the street, I'm somewhere, and a wicked thought comes into my mind, and it immediately comes in, and what I do with it from there matters. Now, if I continue to dwell on it and think on it and lust on it or whatever I'm doing with it, then at that point, it becomes a real temptation. It becomes a real problem. So we have to understand that emotions, when they hit us, they're not sin. Anxiety, it's not sin. Anger, it's not sin. Depression is not sin. It's what I allow it to do to me that can lead to sin. So let's get that out there right now. All anxiety is not bad. Anxiety will motivate me to take action on something I need to take action on. So our problem is we become too cautious. We overthink things. I'm an overthinker. I don't know about you, but this guy right here, he is an overthinker. So we overthink things. We fail to walk by faith. Walking is an action. If these things were easy to overcome, God wouldn't have to tell us to do these things, right? He wouldn't have to tell us how to think, right? In Philippians 4, that same chapter, he tells us how to think. He tells us how to keep from thinking corruptly. He tells us when those wicked thoughts come in initially, you're to cast them down and think on these things, whatsoever is true, whatsoever is honest, whatsoever is just, whatsoever is pure, whatsoever is of a good report. Think on these things. See, God is telling us, hey, anxiety is going to come. Bad thoughts are going to come. Wicked thoughts are going to come into your life. Here's what you need to do with them. You need to take action. The problem comes when I don't take action. And when I don't take action with my anxiety becomes worse because I don't walk into the thing that I need to walk into. The very first time I did public speaking, I froze. I just froze up. So I had to do it again. Eventually I had to do it again. And the next time I had to walk into it. Man, my body and my brain and my mind were telling me, hey, Todd, we don't do public speaking. We freeze up when we do public speaking. So I had to let my thinking come in there and say, no, we're not going to freeze up, and then walk into it and go get up on that stage and speak. And over time, I got better and I got better and I got better. And I speak all the time now. I teach all the time. I speak all the time. I spoke at a church this past Sunday night. I spoke I speak several times a week. I'm speaking in front of a crowd all the time. Why? Because I stopped listening to my emotions and I started thinking through and acting through to a solution. And that's our solution to our anxiety. I put several things down here. Is we have to stop feeling guilty about our anxiety. We have to stop anxiety's coming. And then we carry this guilt around our anxiety because we think somehow it's a sin that we are hit with anxiety. It's not. We just talked about that. It's not. So stop feeling guilty. Stop believing God is mad at you about your anxiety. God's not mad at you, but he wants you to take action on your anxiety, right? He knows that you have problems. God knows. That's why he gave us the word of God, right? Because he knows that we have these problems. God knows we struggle. That's why he tells us that he'll strengthen us. But we have to move. God's not going to strengthen you until you start to move in the direction that you need to move. And God's sitting there going, I'm not going to do all this by myself, right? You have to move. I have a vehicle. You have a car, right? Well, that car is no good unless it's moving, right? It doesn't take me anywhere. I can't turn it. I can't steer it until that car is moving. The same with us. God can't direct us until we start moving, and we have to understand that our anxiety, if we allow it, you're in control of this. If we allow it, Your anxiety will keep you from moving. God's not going to take your anxiety away from you and then you move. God says, no, you start moving, doing what I ask you to do, and then your anxiety will subside when you start to walk into that fear, when you start to walk into what you have to do. So walk into that fear. So he knows we struggle. We walk anyway, right? We walk anyway. I told the guys the other day, I said, use this word, dominate. Dominate your emotions. Let your thinking dominate your emotions. Let your actions dominate what your emotions are telling. You have to dominate. That's the word. That's a strong word, dominate. I need you to dominate your emotions. Take control of your actions. You can't control your emotions. That's a fallacy, right? You cannot control your emotions. Your emotions are coming. What you control is the actions that your emotions are telling you to do. When anxiety hits, your emotions are telling you, don't do this. Don't go there. Don't ask for the sale. Don't go here, right? That's what your anxiety is telling you to do. So you're not controlling your emotions. The emotion hits. What you're controlling is the action that your emotion is telling you to do. So we have to take control of those actions. Win anyway, despite what your emotions are telling you. You've got to win. You've got to dominate anyway. That's your responsibility. God's not going to take it from you. As you start to move forward, he'll strengthen you, but not until you start to move into the direction, facing your fears, going forward and doing what you're supposed to do. That's how God works. So remember, you will overcome anxiety and fear in that moment, right? It's not, like I just said, it's not going to happen because you ask God to take it away. God says, no, I'll take it away when you start to move. When you're obedient to him, when you're obedient to God and you start to move in a direction, then God starts to work. That's how God works through this. So be ready for the moment, right? Oh man, I'm feeling this anxiety. I'm feeling stressed. I'm so worried I'm going to say the wrong words. So what? I might say the wrong words on this video. I'll correct it. So what if you say the wrong words? What's the big deal? What's the big deal if you say something stupid, if it's public? So what's the big deal? Well, it's almost an arrogance in a way. It's pride. What it is, it's pride. You're afraid of what somebody else is going to think about you, but yet you won't speak or do whatever it is. You know, we're just using speaking because that was Jill's issue. What you have to say may help somebody else, but you won't do it because you're afraid that somebody's going to think something about you that you don't want them to think. Yet, so you're going to hold back what you need to say that may help somebody else. That's selfish. That's pride. So stop letting your pride and your anxiety work together to shut you down. Stop doing that. We can't. We're going to get nowhere. We're not going to go forward if we allow that to happen, right? So when anxiety and worry, when they struck Jill, she did not deny it. She didn't deny her anxiety. She said, it's there. Let's go. Let's move forward, right? Jill simply discovered and applied the following things, right? Number one, I'm going to read these to you and we'll end the video, right? It's been 14 minutes on here. Number one, walk forward anyway. Just go forward. Yep, there it is. There's the thing you're facing. There's the mountain. Go forward anyway, right? Despite your emotions, don't let them shut you down. You take control. You are in control, right? So number two, recognize that fear and doubt are just healthy. Yeah, they are. And they're natural brain cautions. It's natural to have fear and anxiety because the brain does that in order to protect itself and to protect you. However, the brain tends to generalize everything. So if it senses real, legitimate fears, it's going to do the same thing with illegitimate fears. The brain, it's just an organ. It's just part of your body, right? So what the part that you and I control is the mind, all right? So the mind is the software. The brain is the hardware. And then also, I believe part of the mind is our bodies because we tend to our body tends to remember things on a cellular level that communicates back to us our fears and how we are not to operate because in an unhealthy way, right? So you, me, we have to say, nope, that's not where we're going. I hear you, fear. I hear you, anxiety. I hear you, worry. I hear you, depression. I hear you, but I'm ignoring you and I'm going forward anyway. Even if I mess up, it's okay. It's all right, right? Number 3, accept that we cannot control all people and all circumstances. Let go of those things that you can't control. That's just the way it is, you know, to control you. You can't control the people. They laugh at you. They have bad stuff to say about you. So what, right? It doesn't matter. You're not going to grow if you don't do these things. Right? You can't help these people. You have to ignore them. Number 4, spend time doing things that bring you joy and good health. Release the guilt that you're carrying for your anxiety or any of those things that you think are wrong. Make sure you're doing activities that you just enjoy doing, that relax you and that help you move forward. Number 5, learn to be self-aware about the things that bring you stress, right? There's things that bring you stress before the thing that you have to do that's bringing you anxiety. Don't do those things. Get a good night's sleep. If you stay up too late, don't do that, right? If you're overeating, stop doing those things. Those things bring stress on your life. If you're not drinking enough water, drink more water. Again, do the things, make sure you're doing the things in your life that don't bring on more stress in your life. Don't create more stress than is necessary. Life is already going to bring enough stress, right? So let's not do that, okay? Number 6, decide you will trust God in all your circumstances and with your emotions. And then number 7, know that what you decide to do in that anxious moment will determine if you win or lose the anxiety battle. You must decide in that moment what you're going to do. And you must decide to go forward, not backwards. Don't stall. Don't do those things. Always be ready in the moment. Live for right now. Right now. I'm not living yesterday. I'm not living tomorrow. I'm operating right now. Right? So I hope that has helped you with anxiety. We'd love to connect with you. You can connect with us at www.nextstepmen.org. You can contact us that way. We'd love to hear from you. I hope this video has been helpful with your anxiety. Please check us out. Subscribe to our channel here. Like us, share us out. We need you to help us reach more people. Appreciate you. We love you. Have a great day.